Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am going to wait for everyone to get in and log in. First, I want to say hello. I know it's been about a week or two since we've met. But I had to, come and discuss this. At first, I wasn't going to discuss this topic. I find that a lot of topics that I have been intrigued by or wanting to discuss have been very, very, very controversial. I'm going to say this before we get started. I want to say that some of you won't like me after this. Some of you may love me after this. Some of you may say, he's a really fair guy after this. Some of you may say, he's full of shit. I recognize that no matter what, everyone's going to feel some kind of way. And that's part of the reason why I, at first, was not going to speak about this on video in a public forum. But, me being me, I had to remember, I don't give a shit. I don't care if somebody doesn't like me because of opinion. We live in the United States of America. It's one of the last goddamn things we have left is our opinion that we can speak our goddamn mind. So fuck it. I'm going to say what the fuck I feel like saying. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Just don't be petty and go report in my page. And then I'm going to have to be sitting in Facebook jail and all of that. You know what I'm saying? That's my only thing. That I ask. Don't do that. Today, I just want to say, we're going to be talking about Bill Cosby. We're going to be talking about Bill Cosby's release. Okay? That's just a fact. That's what we're going to be discussing here. And everybody's not going to like it. And that's fine. That's totally okay. But we all have our own lives and agendas. Now, long story short, Bill Cosby was arrested. He was convicted for a sexual assault case, and he got locked the hell up. Okay? Well, the plot thickens, bitch. Yesterday, he was released. He was released. And I want to read to you because I got several sources here. Because what I want to get into today, I want to get into several elements to this. We have, of course, the legal element where the prosecution dropped the ball and it was a little bit too overzealous. We have the moral element of this story in recognizing sexual assault and victims of sexual assault. We have the race dynamic to this story. Okay? We have the celebrity angle to this story. There's a lot to this story. Okay? There's a lot to it. And that's just the bottom line. So, first what I want to start off with is how Bill Cosby got out of jail. Okay? How did this conviction get overturned? All right? Now, this comes from the New York Times. First off, why did the court overturn the conviction? Because prosecutors violated Mr. Cosby's rights by reneging on an apparent promise not to charge him, the court majority ruled. Okay? In 2005, Bruce L. Castor Jr., who was the then district attorney in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, issued a news release. Fuck up number one. Fuck up number one. Issued a news release saying that he declined to charge Mr. Cosby over the matter. Mr. Cosby then set for depositions in a separate lawsuit filed against him by Miss Constant, Adria Constant, this is the young lady to whom he was convicted for, which paid her $3.38 million to settle in 2006. But a subsequent district attorney reversed Mr. Castor's decision and charged the entertainer with assaulting Miss Constant after all. In the trial, prosecutors used what Mr. Cosby had said in deposition. His admission that in decades past, admission that in decades past, he had given quaaludes to women in an effort to have sex with them as evidence against him. So basically, Bill testified in a civil manner, for the civil, in agreement that he wouldn't go to jail, wouldn't get tried. So he basically admitted to the shit and was like, I was dropping, quaaludes, right? So because they did that, here's the thing. We hold that when a prosecutor makes an unconditional promise of non-prosecution, and when a defendant relies upon that guarantee to the detriment of his constitutional right not to testify, the principle of fundamental fairness that undergirds due process of law in our criminal justice system demands that the promise be enforced, wrote Justice David Norman Wett. So, just to recap here, he's not out of jail because it was found that he did nothing wrong. He's out of jail, ladies and gentlemen, because the prosecution made a fast deal, held that deal to get her some money, but then the new prosecutor came and did some dumb shit, reneged on the deal, and now we're gagging. So, why did Mr. Castor say he would not charge Mr. Cosby? It always comes down to the fucking money. So Mr. Castor, who this year, by the way, was one of the defense lawyers in Donald Trump's second impeachment trial, bitch. So we know what to expect from this. Before the Senate has said that he announced in 2005 that Mr. Cosby would not be charged in an effort to prevent him from invoking his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, so he would have to testify in Miss Constance's coming civil case. So basically what they said, once again, the reason why they made this deal was because of this. They wanted to make sure that they can get him for the money. If he had invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, they wouldn't get nothing. So if he testifies in a civil trial, bitch, then she can get some coins. Now, in 2016, when the Cosby defense team was trying to get the criminal charges thrown out, they took the unusual step of calling Mr. Castor as a witness at a pretrial hearing. He testified that he had believed Miss Constant, but did not think the evidence was enough to prove her accusations beyond a reasonable doubt. See, I think we forget sometimes that we live in a country with a criminal justice system where there's still this thing called innocent until proven guilty. It doesn't mean that you're not guilty. It just means that we have to prove that you're guilty. And that applies to everybody from people who are wrongfully accused to people who are shitty. That's our justice system, people. And it does not pick and choose who it applies to unless you're a certain demographic or you ain't got no goddamn money. Now, he defended his decision as a way to help her suit. And you know what, honestly? If I'm a lawyer, I'm not mad at that. I'm going to keep it 100. I can't see your comments, and I did that on purpose. Y'all probably going off in the comments, but I can't see it because I don't want to get irritated. I just want to speak my piece. As a lawyer, what your job is the burden of proving something, especially that I'm not going to say it's he say, she say, but if there's no DNA evidence, if there's nobody else around, things like that, it becomes hard to prove. So as a lawyer, he had to make that decision and say, look, sis, I don't know if we're going to get a conviction on the criminal front, but I know we can get some coins from his ass. Okay? I decided that we would not prosecute Mr. Cosby, and that would set a chain of events that would get some justice for Andrea Constand, Mr. Castor said. So, did Mr. Castor make a binding promise? According to the Supreme Court, yes. There was no formal written non-prosecution agreement, just a terse news release. And Ms. Constand and her lawyers have said that they were not told of any promise or deal. Against that backdrop, a legal dispute arose over whether Mr. Castor had in fact ordered a binding promise that Mr. Cosby would never be charged. And if he did, whether he had the authority to do so. Mr. Castor maintained he had made such a pledge, but the trial judge disagreed and ruled that the criminal case brought by the new district attorney could proceed. So, Mr. Castor even said, look, bitch, the first prosecutor said, I made the deal, bitch. But this new prosecutor, okay, the new district attorney kept it going. Okay? But the Supreme Court majority backed Mr. Castor's interpretation of what he had done. While that does not necessarily also mean that immunizing Mr. Cosby from prosecution was the right thing to do, Mr. Castor said in a phone interview on Wednesday that he believed his prosecutorial decision-making in 2005 had been exonerated by the Supreme Court's decision. The ruling was a shellacking for the current district attorney's office, he said, and it damn sure was. I was right back in 2005, and I'm right in 2021, as we see here. Mr. Castor said, I'm proud of our Supreme Court for having the courage to make an unpopular decision. Now, could Cosby face a new trial? Not for assaulting Miss Constand. Can't try for that no more. Justice Weck's majority opinion for 4 of the 7 justices said he must be discharged and any future prosecution on these particular charges must be barred. Okay? This immunity from prosecution only applies to the specific accusations that Mr. Cosby drugged and assaulted Miss Constand. Other women across the country have also come forward to accuse the entertainer of similarly assaulting them in years past. But those accusations involved encounters that were so long ago that statutes of limitations barred charging him over them. That's not my opinion, sis. That's what happened. Okay? Now, for that injustice, you have to blame your justice system. Okay? This is the same justice system that black people and people of color have complained about for years, decades, centuries. We told y'all. It just so happened that in this case, it worked out in Bill Cosby's favor. So once again, your anger at him coming out, being released from jail, blame your government for that. Blame these lawyers that you're paying thousands of dollars in billable hours to, because he should have known that. Blame your court system, because they shouldn't have tried it in the beginning after that man had already made the deal. Once you do a damn news release, that's it. It's nothing you can do with that. Now, the sad part about this legal process is, if it was me or you, and I'm being real here, if we didn't have the money, we wouldn't have been able to take this to a Supreme Court, because we wouldn't have had the fucking money. And this is how fucked up your legal system is. He got this much because he had the money to get this much. And that's not a referendum on Bill Cosby. That's a referendum on class in America. Class injustice in America. This is also something that black people have been telling you for years. You working your 9-to-5 job, you won't be able to afford a lawyer and pay thousands and thousands of dollars. Mind you, Bill done served 3 years. So he paid 3 years worth of legal fees to get this fucking overturned. Me and you would have had to do GoFundMes, all kinds of fundraisers, and let's be real here. We would have had to garner public interest. Once we got convicted, the public wouldn't have gave a shit about us if we was regular people. We'd have moved on to the next hashtag and the next headline. So this right here is a referendum on the justice system, a referendum on celebrity, and a referendum on class and justice, and how wealth impacts the type of justice that you get. Now, for those of you who say, because I'm being very fair here, oh, they set Bill Cosby up. Bill Cosby has admitted to doing this shit. I know you don't want to hear that, and this is probably why you hang up the phone, but he admitted to this shit in the deposition. Okay? Now, in a deposition, Bill Cosby admitted that he had given several of these women Quaaludes. Cosby does admit to giving the drugs to women, saying the same as any person would say, have a drink. But he claims to only have given them Quaaludes with their knowledge. When asked, however, if one of the victims, Teresa Serenis, a woman who is accused of assaulting in 1976, could consent to having sex with him after he gave her the drugs, he said, I don't know. Cosby discussed his sexual encounters with several other women over the course of the deposition. He also described the methods through which he hid the encounters from his wife Camille, usually through paying the women to keep quiet. I'm not going to go and read every deposition, everything that Bill Cosby said, because what I'm not here to do is retry Bill Cosby. But what I did say I was going to do in regards to this is lay out the fucking facts. Fact. He said in the deposition that he did the shit. Fact. The prosecution made a deal with his ass to not prosecute him on a criminal front because they knew that they really couldn't prove it without reasonable doubt. So they gave him that deal so that he would have to testify in the civil suit so that they can get some kind of retribution for the victim. That is the fact. Okay? It's not something that we made up in our heads. It's not something where we saw he was buying NBC. These are the facts. Okay? If you don't choose to believe the facts, that is fine. That is your choice, and that is your right. But what I'm not going to do is sit and bamboozle myself, because guess what? Bill ain't paid not nan bill at this motherfucker. Okay? Not nan bill. All right? So, I ain't got a dog in that fight. Now, if you're saying DDM, what is your personal opinion? Do you think that Bill Cosby did this to these women? I fucking do. And I say that without batting an eyelash. I say that without biting my words, misconstruing them, biting my tongue. I believe he fucking did it. I also believe that the justice system fucked themselves. That's your fault. Does it suck for that victim? Yeah. And I feel for you, sis. I feel for those ladies. But this is what happens when you rush and you don't do your job thoroughly. Be clear. This does not absolve Bill Cosby of any moral misconduct or wrongdoing. It doesn't absolve him. And yes, you may say, he's old. You know, they're trying to keep a black man down. And that all may be true. You can be old, and society, as we know, can't keep a black man down. In this case, this shit just happened to be fucking true. And that's what it is. Okay? Now, when we go into the racial element, this is going to take all of my time. I was going to talk about this Supreme Court voting law, but I don't even think we're going to have time. Voting ruling, but I don't even think we're going to have time for that. But let's get into that racial element, right? For those of you, and this is where, if you notice, I'm going back and forth. I'm teetering. Because I believe in being fair. And I believe as adults, we should be able to have these kind of conversations, people. Okay? For those people who, feel like they're trying to kill a popular black figure, I feel why they think that way. Because throughout history, America typically does that to successful black people in some form or fashion. And not to compare that, but when you've seen Black Wall Street, when you've seen the assassination of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John Kennedy, when you've seen things like that, it could make you think, shit, they trying to comfort Bill. So I get that. Also, too, for a lot of people, separating Heathcliff Huxtable from Bill Cosby is hard. Let me do some social commentary for you. A lot of the kids, the people who are adults now, especially in Black America, during the crack, who were kids in the crack era, who were kids when COINTELPRO sent drugs and guns into the black neighborhood to disrupt families and break them up, ended up being raised by either single mothers, if they didn't have a two-parent home, or they were latchkey kids raised by television. The Cosby Show ran for almost a decade. You have people who were raised by the Cosby Show. You have people who did not think that college was even possible for them until they saw a different world. And I'm saying this to get those who be like, how can you defend? How can you not believe it? I'm saying that because as humans, let's try to understand each other and why we thinking like this. That is damn near traumatic to find out that a person who in some ways raised and shaped who you are and what you thought you could be in life, turned out to be a sexual predator. That's a hard pill to swallow, man. And my heart goes out to those people. But we also have to learn to hold people accountable. It's just like with this R. Kelly shit, right? We have to learn to hold people. We have to learn that, you know what? Even Superman got kryptonite. These are human beings. And their contribution, they may have made contributions that were positive and changed your life. But I'm going to put it to you like this. The devil was an angel first. He fell from grace. Do that still not make him the devil? I can call customer service, okay, ask for an extension, and the representative be real nice to me and say, yeah, we got you, but don't give you that extension. He didn't notate your account. Now your shit's off, your cable's off, your lights are out. And we're going to agree to disagree, and that's fine. That's why I ain't got these motherfucking comments on for me to see. I know y'all going off, but I ain't got time. Because Drag Race come on tonight, bitch. But we need to think about that. Now, we have to look at loyalty. Loyalty. Felicia Rashad. So Felicia Rashad comes out. She tweets with a picture of Bill. Finally, a terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected. Now, technically, in Bill's case, with why he was prosecuted after being given that deal, quote unquote, she's technically right about the miscarriage of justice as it pertains to Bill in that situation. Yes, I'm dissecting the fuck out of this. But sis, when you put finally in all caps with quotation, with exclamation points, even if you feel that way, and I'm not a woman, but as a black woman, you gotta be careful with that. And here's why. We have a history, and this is where I have to put this out here. We have a history of demonizing the woman or the victim, of asking 800 questions. We'll ask the victim 800 questions. Well, why did you go to his place this time of night? What happened? Why did you do that? You know better than that, girl. I always use Robin Givens as an example. People drag the fuck out of Robin Givens. They didn't even want to hear her side of the story. They dragged her. Anita Hill. Notice I'm naming black women here. But Emmett Till's accuser? And somebody just sent me a message why he's saying that he gave him the pills with permission. That's he say, she say. Of course he's going to say he gave him the pills with their permission. Why wouldn't he say that? Let's not act like we don't know liars. We don't know that people lie. Come on now. Let's cut the shit. But Emmett Till's accuser is walking around free after she admitted that she fucking lied. And she old as shit. But we don't believe the black women. And you have a black woman coming out saying, finally. We gotta stop this shit. Just because people are superheroes to us. And that goes for anybody. And I want to speak primarily as it pertains to black people. Because guess what? And I'm getting ready to hit a nerve. And it's the realest shit ever. You can kiss my ass if you hate me. I don't give a shit. If Bill Cosby was a gay black man, and these were young gay boys who were adults, and he was doing this shit, y'all would say throw him under the fucking jail. It wouldn't be Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC, bitch. It would be Bill Cosby's a fucking pervert and a pedophile. And I want you to sit and lie to me in my face and say that you wouldn't say that. I want you to do it. Lie to me, please. And lie to yourself. Because you know that wouldn't be the case. We got to stop this shit. We got to stop this shit. I'm going off. Now, back to Felicia. She has the right to feel that way. But here's the problem. You just got hired to be the Dean of Fine Arts at a historically black college and university, where you're going to have young girls, specifically in your department, who are going to be coming to you to learn the art of theater, dance, vocal, and they're going to be going into the entertainment industry where we know a lot of funky shit happens behind the scenes. You can't have the dean of the College of Fine Arts at the same historically black college and university that has produced the first black female vice president in America saying shit like that. So now you done put Howard in the pickle. You done put him in the pickle. Because now what you've essentially done is you split it. Because there are some people who have defended Felicia Rashad. There's been that other half of people, sexual assault victims, black women, all kinds of folks who have come out against her. Howard alumni who have come out against her for that statement. Hell, Aunt Viv, the real Aunt Viv from Fresh Prince, had to come get her ass real quick. That logistically and tactically presents a problem. Because when they look at that tweet, they're not looking at Felicia Rashad, who is loyal to Bill Cosby, who employed her for almost a damn decade. They're looking at Felicia Rashad, our Dean of Fine Arts at our historically black college and university that's bringing young, impressionable black youth to come and learn the arts from a woman who has now stated that she feels that someone who admitted to predatory practices was wrong. If you don't understand that, I don't know what else to tell you. This ain't the broadcast for you. Log off, go home. Go watch TV or something. Okay? Another thing for me that is interesting about this case and this whole situation is that you had so many women come out And a lot of people just refuse to believe these women. The one story that made me say, wait a minute, Bill, what the fuck was you doing? Was when Beverly Johnson came out. Now, I'm not saying that Beverly Johnson is a liar. I'm not saying that she's a saint. But Beverly Johnson's not poor. Beverly Johnson is an icon. She got money. She got a family. She don't need this. But when she wrote a whole essay in Vanity Fair detailing her account, that kind of put a red flag up for me. Now, from her account, from what I read, he didn't get her all the way. She was still able to get out. So she goes, and this is an excerpt. As I felt my body go completely limp, my brain switched into automatic survival mode. That meant making sure Cosby understood that I knew exactly what was happening at that very moment. You're a motherfucker, ain't you? That's the exact question I yelled at him as he stood there holding me, expecting me to bend to his will. I rapidly called him several more motherfuckers. By the fifth, I could tell I was really pissing him off. At one point, he dropped his hands from my waist and just stood there looking at me like I lost my mind. What happened next is somewhat cloudy for me because the drug was in full play by that time. I recall his seething anger at my tirade and then him grabbing me by my left arm hard and yanking all 110 pounds of me down a bunch of stairs as my high heels clicked and clacked on every step. I feared my neck was going to break with the force he was using to pull me down those stairs. It was still late afternoon and the sun hadn't completely gone down yet. When we reached the front door, he pulled me outside of the brownstone and then, with his hand still tightly clenched around my arm, stood in the middle of the street waving down taxis. When one stopped, Cosby opened the door, shoved me into it, and slammed the door behind me without ever saying a word. I somehow managed to tell the driver my address, and before blacking out, I looked at the cabbie and asked as if he knew, did I really just call Bill Cosby a motherfucker? So from her account, she just discussed getting drugged. Nothing happened because she had her wherewithal still. But here's another story that really struck me. And this was after Cosby was convicted, right? And this comes from Marsha Warfield. If you are familiar with classic sitcoms, Marsha Warfield was on the sitcom Night Court. She played the bailiff Roz in Night Court, okay? Marsha Warfield is a lesbian, okay? She posted to Facebook, this was after he was convicted. So, this had no bearing on a court case. She wasn't trying to get any money. She was just speaking her damn piece, okay? And she posted this on Facebook. In a more recent Facebook post, Warfield, and this comes from the Root, talks about how conflicted she is over Bill Cosby. Not only because she looked up to him as a young comedian and he turned out to be a sexual predator, but because she had firsthand knowledge of his predilection for spiking drinks and never spoke up about it. In a note that she posted, Warfield explained how she and Cosby used to have the same publicity rap when she was younger. Warfield recounted this story about meeting with Cosby then. Then, as my PR guy was leaving, he said to me with a twinkle in his eye, just make sure you don't drink anything. As you can imagine, I was confused. So he went on to explain that Cos liked to put stuff in women's drinks and the rest, you know. I was horrified. I asked many times if he was kidding because I couldn't believe he was serious, especially with the no big deal, nonchalant way he was describing it. He went on to say that Cos did it to protect himself and his image because a drug woman wouldn't remember, and even if she did, nobody would believe her. I told him that what he described was horrible, a terrible thing to do, and he should never tell anyone that again. He reassured me that he had been doing it for years. Everybody knew it, and again, it was no big deal. Anyway, I did take the meeting. He did offer me drinks, and I did decline them. We chatted about nothing in particular, then I left. Then she goes, but I am ashamed that I didn't speak out. I am ashamed that my desire to protect another black person from unfair prosecution in a society all too often, all too happy to persecute and even kill them without consideration of innocence or guilt was misguided, misplaced, and misapplied. I am scared because I know this essay will be judged and people will respond with their own opinions and truths. And I'm pissed that through no fault of my own, this little bit of gossip weighs so heavily on my heart and conscience. And in that paragraph lies the dilemma. And I think she speaks to it so eloquently. Because black men, black people face such harsh judgment, such harsh criminal prosecution, such harsh, treatment in the justice system in America, you don't want to necessarily go and cheat them out. It's just like you get side-eyed as a black person if you critique a black business publicly. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a lot it weighs a lot on the victim and the perpetrator. There's so many layers to this. So many layers. And so, but this is a woman who, she doesn't have anything from, Bill Cosby had been convicted at that point. She didn't file any type of civil suits. Hell, she didn't even go to the press. She posted this shit on her Facebook. So we have to be real with ourselves. And like I said, I'm not here to retry Bill Cosby. Shit. According to the Supreme Court, I can anyway. So, that's my take on that. And I'm done. This is the first time, and this is the last time I'm going to discuss Bill Cosby. If you don't agree with what I said, that's fine. But as always, I encourage you to do your own research. This isn't, I'm not trying to do a witch hunt, but, this is basically taking over my news feed for the past 2 days. With that being said, make sure you follow me on socials at Dapper Dan Midas. I'm in the middle of working on a few things, right now. But, with that being said, I hope y'all have a great, 4th of July weekend. If anything, celebrate your own personal independence, bitch. I don't know. But enjoy yourselves, enjoy your family. If you want to contribute to the channel, once again, you can always donate via Venmo, Cash App, at Dapper Dan Midas. It's all the same. Y'all be blessed. Y'all have a good night. Peace and love. I love you, even if you don't love me. And be safe.